Alright guys, so today we are talking about web warriors in Dark Dimension 5. Should you take some of these guys in or not? Or maybe symbiotes or something else? That's the topic of today. So let's go. First thing first, there's a handful of people who have completed Dark Dimension 5 so far. And even though there are only few people who have done it, we have already had a confirmation about the difficulty level of Dark Dimension 5. And the really good news is for every one of us who are still thinking about their teams is that Dark Dimension 5 is actually quite easy. And by easy I mean that it's nothing compared to Dark Dimension 3, where you had to have the optimal tunes and teams for each node to actually make it happen, so that you don't get stuck for like 30 or 40 tries in one node. Dark Dimension is totally opposite of that. You can take suboptimal teams and suboptimal tunes and still make it happen. It might take few tries, but it's still doable. This doesn't mean that you should be doing like the worst possible characters, by no means. But this gives us some options to think about the tunes that we want to take there. So why are we talking about web warriors? There's few things that really make these guys a compelling option for Dark Dimension 5. And before I can actually talk about why these guys are a compelling option for there, I need to show you a site that helps you tons with your planning of Dark Dimension 5. And it's msf.gg. If you don't know this site yet, you should definitely check it out. A huge shout out to TyJ and Toxie for making this happen. And you might have noticed from the in-game messages that these guys have been recruited to MSF, so they are actually part of the game as of now, or as of maybe a few weeks ago. One of the really cool parts about msf.gg is this DD planner, where you can actually plan your teams. And you might be asking, why should we be just planning our team? Why can't we just take the best characters that we want in Dark Dimension? Well, you can definitely do that. But if you're going at it like that, you probably want to prepare for a long ride. If you want to complete it, let's say, relatively fast, you should definitely manage your resources. And by managing resources, I mean that you should be thinking about traits, lanes, characters, their cost, their usage, and everything to make sure that you can actually complete it in time, not get stuck in whatever lane for a long time. And msf.gg is a perfect planning tool for that. Alright, so when you go to a DD planner, you see that the lanes are laid out in here. First will be actually the non-restricted nodes, which you can use whatever characters you want. But after that, it will be city, then global, then cosmic, and then legendary. And of course, you should be planning your teams so that you are ready for city first. And while you're doing your city, you should be trying to build up your global, and while you're doing your global, you should be building up cosmic and legendary. If you do it the opposite way, you will be stuck for a long time. All right. So over here you can see we can actually check the city characters that we can use in Dark Dimension 5, and you get an idea of what we are talking about with the resource management in here. On the top row, you can see that there are 4 characters, and they have this 90/90 on the left side, and that means they take 90 pieces of gear, of teal gear, to be if you want to upgrade them to gear tier 16. And that means those guys are really expensive. And on the other side, in the bottom, we have the cheapest characters that need the least teal gear to actually be built up to gear tier 16. And what do you know? You can see that the web warriors and new characters from the web warriors teams are actually in the bottom row. So they only require 36 teal pieces to be upgraded to Gear Tier 16. So that's really good news. That means that you can use these new characters and they are cheap to build. And as we know, you probably know, if you don't know, it's usually a trend that the newer characters are usually better than the older ones, unless they have been recently reworked. So building up your newer characters is always a good idea instead of the old characters. All right. So there are things that you need to know about your resources, and one of those things are, of course, the traits. For example, bio, tech, mystic, mutant, and skill. All of these require these trait items for teal gear, and those are really scarce. And of course, so are the uniques. So when you're planning your team, you should be thinking about how you spread out your traits. And the best way to do it is having 4 of each trait. So 4 bio, 4 mutant, 4 mystic, 4 skill, and 4 tech characters. If you spread them out like this, you will be needing far less materials than if you do just, let's say, 15 bio characters. You would be needing tons of bio teal gear, and that would mean a lot of time to collect those items. All the while you could be doing something else. So spread your resources around. And when you spread your teams around, the traits around, then you should be thinking about the uniques. So there's one thing that let's say, one bad thing about that, let's say most obvious choice, at least in few months back, for bio characters or city characters in general in Dark Dimension 5 were the symbiotes. We all know the curse of alien spores. So each one of the symbiotes requires alien spores, and that's really a bad thing, because that means that you need 36 pieces of alien spores to get 2 characters ready, 2 symbiote characters ready for Dark Dimension 5. And yeah, it's a tough job to get all those 36 pieces. So if you have a chance to have different uniques, that's always the best option. Most likely in your Dark Dimension 5 run, you will use at least 2 or maybe 3, even if you spread around everything like almost perfectly, you will have some overlap on the uniques, but having like 2 characters of the same unique, let's say on city and then on legendary, that's not too big of a deal. But having a 3rd character with the same unique, or having several tunes with the same unique throughout your Dark Dimension teams, it's always a bad thing. So if you're thinking about symbiotes as an option, you can see that symbiotes are actually quite expensive. So 3 pieces of the symbiote team, Carnage, Venom, and symbiote Spider-Man, they all require 72 pieces of teal gear to get into Gear Tier 16, and 2 of the characters require 54. So that's let's say Scream and what else? Did I count this wrong? 3 in 72, and Scream, and who else? Who am I missing? Oh, yeah, Scream and Anti-Venom as 54. So those guys are expensive. You need a lot of bio teal gear to get these guys in. Whereas the new Web Warrior characters, Ghost Spider, Scarlet Spider, and Spider Punk, are all 36 pieces. So you can take 2 Web Warrior characters at the cost of 1 symbiote Spider-Man. And that's a really good thing. The other good thing is that the Web Warriors actually have different uniques. Well, they have 1 different unique, and that's the fact that Ghost Spider uses alien spores, whereas the other Whip Warrior characters use OS formula. And that means that you can have two Whip Warrior characters with different uniques who are really cheap as your first two characters in Dark Dimension 5. One other thing is that you will most likely want to have two bio characters in your city team, and that's just because there aren't too many good bio characters in global, in cosmic, or in legendary. So when you have a bio heavy lane like the city lane, you will most likely want to use those bio characters in there and use other characters like mutants in global, which are really common in there but not that common in anywhere else. And you can use like mystics in cosmic, which are really common in cosmic but not that common in, let's say, city or global. So you need to think it is true, and I'm saying that taking two Web Warriors in your first 5 will be a good thing to do. All right. So what about the synergy and the viability in like altogether in Dark Dimension? I'm gonna make an estimate. This is just something I draw out of my head. I feel that the best two bio characters for Dark Dimension 5 city nodes will most likely be Symbiote Spider-Man and Antivenom. And that's because those characters are designed for Dark Dimension. They have such a good synergy together and such a good synergy in Dark Dimension that they are most likely a bit better than the Web Warriors. But as I mentioned in the start, Dark Dimension 5 is not that hard. So you don't need the optimal tunes to get in there. And you might have noticed that symbiotes are sort of trending down and the Web Warriors are going up. And that means that even though the Web Warriors may not be as good in Dark Dimension 5, they will still do fine in there. And you will most likely use these guys in the near future a lot more than the symbiotes. So there's another good reason to actually use these guys instead of the symbiotes. Symbiotes will be a safe choice. They're expensive. They take a lot of more TL gear. They take the same uniques, and you can't use them as much as you can use the Web Warriors in the near future. So in that sense, I think the best options is to take two of the Web Warriors, one being Ghost Spider and one being optional out of the rest of the 4 as your two bio characters in the city lane. Alright, so who would the second character be? To me, it seems that since Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles are both 54 teal pieces, whereas Scarlet Spider and Spider-Punk are 36, I would recommend taking Ghost Spider and Scarlet Spider as your two bio characters in your city lane. They are cheap, they have synergy together, they have a lot of control elements, they have healing, they have a lot of stuff that you need in Dark Dimension. Most likely they're not going to be as good as Symbiote Spider-Man and Antivenom, but they will be pretty darn good anyways, and they will be doing great job in there, and you will be using these guys a lot more in the near future. Here you can see my Ghost Spider and my Scarlet Spider, and here you can see that these guys use the different uniques. So Scarlet Spider uses OS formula, whereas Ghost Spider uses alien spores. And you can see that I actually have alien spores enough for Spider-Man, Symbiote and Antivenom, but I'm still not gonna take those guys instead of these two guys. So sort of explains how much I like these guys. Yeah, they are not Dark Dimension characters. They have incredible synergy in raids. Incredible. But Dark Dimensions are not raids. So they are not as good in Dark Dimension as they are in raids. So if you have been playing with these guys in raids, do not mistake. These guys are not as good in in Dark Dimension as they are in Raids. But they're still pretty darn good. So don't get me wrong. So those are my choices, and just to seal this off, I'm gonna be showing how these guys work in Dark Dimension. So I've been saving up my Dark Dimension 4 mission 12, which is the last city node, and the infamous last city node, which is really tough, and I think it's been a torment of all Dark Dimension 4 players, and we all know how tough this is. If you have been here, you know what I'm talking about. So I want to bring these guys in here and just show how they work. So I've been using these guys in the earlier nodes, and I'm gonna be using Symbiote Spider-Man as the 5th character. Let's use Spider-Man Miles over there and Spider-Man over there. I'm gonna be using Ghost Spider on this side. No, let's switch that to Scarlet Spider and Ghost Spider on the other side. I'm using Scarlet Spider and Ghost Spider on the other side because they are the important characters of the team, and I don't want them to get hit too much. And my Scarlet Spider is a bit squishy because he only has 4 red stars and 5 yellow stars. So I'm using Miles Morales behind him just to cut off those chain attacks on him when those happen when Spider-Man Miles is on stealth. So that helps Scarlet Spider survive a bit more. But using your squishy characters in the sides is always a good idea to avoid the splash damage. But enough talking. I've been talking a lot, so it's already a 15-minute long video, but let's get into the notes so we can have some sense of how these guys will be working. And I'm gonna warn you, I haven't tested this team yet, and I have no idea how they will be working. I'm pretty sure that unless I get killed right away in the first attacks, I will get at least something done. But let's see how it goes. They have an incredible burst at the first chance, and I have no idea if they're gonna be just wiping out someone and making this really hard for me, but let's see how it goes. Alright, so Rocket Raccoon will be doing special, Star will be doing ultimate. Those are like really tough hitting attacks. Jessica Jones will be doing special and ultimate, which is of course really bad when you're relying on debuffs. But once I press this once again, we're gonna be having Captain Marvel hitting our Spider-Man, which took the hit like a champ, so that's really good thing. I think Star-Lord goes before Jessica Jones, so I think I want to be using the special over here, and as a raider this will be ability blocking Star-Lord, so that's a really good thing I think at this point. So let's go with that. We get some slows in as well, so that's good. Now we can stun someone. I had my abilities ready from the previous node, and I'm thinking whether we should be trying this on Jessica Jones, because if this lands, that would be a really good thing. We could also try it on Miss Marvel. That's really tough. I cannot remember if Jessica Jones is using her ultimate or special in the first turn, but let's just go in. Let's live on the edge. Let's try this out and hope it lands, and it did. Freaking perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Alright, so what next? We have Miles Morales special ready, which I think is way more important than the ultimate is. We could be using the ultimate on... No, we don't want to use that. I'm gonna be turn meter rewinding Jessica Jones just to give us more time to land some debuffs and make sure that we get some healing and make these guys' life hard. So we can spread some negative effects, so that's pretty good. We can do on the other side and spread that defense down. Alright. I think we can do this on this side. We could also just use the basic, maybe on Punisher or Miss Marvel. I think this is a better course of action at this point. Oh, that's not, yeah, sorry, that's not, yeah, that was a mistake, because that's not actually spreading, that's actually just extending those debuffs, but that's pretty good also. So now we can, I think we just want to go with the special over here. Give these guys defense down. That should be helping us a bit. There's the Miss Marvel ultimate. Doesn't do much, but I'm a bit afraid of that. Yes, those guys. Okay, so now we can definitely spread these around. Should be giving us a bit more healing. And defense down on everyone should be pretty nice. I would have loved if that actually landed on Jessica Jones as well, but it didn't. There's slow, so we can actually take away that offense up from there, so that's always good. Okay, so we have a taunt right now. Okay, let's just go with the basic. I have a skirmisher, so that really works and cleanses the taunt from her. I think we want to be using this on Captain America. This way he won't be taunting next turn, which would be his next turn. Let's extend these and hope that Jessica Jones will be doing the ultimate first. Now that she will be taking turn quite soon. We can blind someone who has a slow. I think we want to be blinding actually Rocket Raccoon, who's about to take his turn. And that didn't blind. It might have been that it's only in raid, so I'm not quite sure, but yeah. Alright, let's go over there. Now we can stun someone. We have a skirmisher and 6 red stars on Spider-Man, so fingers crossed. Let's do this. Come on. Alright, okay. Well, that's always a bit of a Hail Mary if you want to say it like that, but these guys definitely can take the damage. I'm quite impressed. Let's try to hit that Jessica Jones with the defense down. That would always help, and it landed. Perfect. And now we can actually... So the ultimate was the first turn, so now we can actually just try to kill Jessica Jones before she takes a turn. And let me think. Yeah, just basic over here. We could save that for next wave. Let's keep hitting on her. And if we had like... if this was a raid, we would have tons of buffs on us and tons of healing, and we don't have nearly as much of those synergies as we do in raids, and these guys are still doing a great job in Dark Dimension. So, and this was definitely hardest node in all of Dark Dimension 4, so I'm quite impressed already. Crit chance, ability block, yeah, and this in raids it does the blind, so this is not a raid, so that doesn't work. So let me think. I just most likely want to kill him, and we did. I'm definitely not gonna be doing the full run over here just because I don't want this video to last too long, but I want to show you guys that these guys actually do work in Dark Dimension, and right now it feels like they're doing great in here, even though they are not Dark Dimension characters, except for, of course, Symbiote Spider-Man. But they have a lot of control, and of course we have Spider-Man here, we have Miles Morales here, who won't be in my first 5 in Dark Dimension 5. But yeah, we can definitely... The basic from Scarlet Spider is really good, and I might change Scarlet Spider to Skirmisher just for Dark Dimension. Now he's actually a raider for raids, but I think Skirmisher will be better because oh, let me think. About defense down, chain, defense down, yes. So I think you really want to land this defense down, so that's a good thing. So most likely you want to be doing Skirmisher for Dark Dimensions, but I think in raids the raider is actually a bit better. Alright, so that was the first wave of Dark Dimension 4, Mission 12, which is the infamous Last City Node. And there you can see that these guys are pretty darn good in Dark Dimension 4, and I'm suspecting that they can actually do some work in Dark Dimension 5 as well. Maybe they're not as good as the symbiotes, but they will be doing pretty darn good. Alright, so that's the end of the video, and it lasted way way longer than I wanted, but there was a lot of stuff going on, so what can you do? I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. You know the deal. I will be making a lot more videos if you guys just yeah, if you like these, I will be making more videos. So yeah, definitely. And if you have any comments, if you have any criticism, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'm always answering any question that I get in there. So yeah, all right. But hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video. Bye.